across class, okay? Because the reality is what they said, as Michael said, what they said about black people all those years ago, and they still trying to say it about us, to be very clear. Now they're saying it out loud about people who are not black, about you.
I mean, this is the reason why politicians advocating for universal economic policies tend to perform better in political polling. They tend to get reelected. It's messaging that appeals to a broader group of voters.
Ana Kasparian is going scorched earth against all of the woke TV hosts out there. This time she's going after someone who's criticizing Bernie Sanders for one thing and then also praising him for that same exact thing, because these people in the woke media, because these liberal TV hosts, they have no morals, they have no actual opinions, they just repeat whatever the machine state tells them to repeat. And Ana Kasparian is fed up with all of these woke idiots. Let's get into this clip here where Ana Kasparian absolutely tears this woke TV host to shreds.
Well, Simone Sanders, who has worked on both Bernie Sanders's and Joe Biden's campaigns, has an interesting piece of information that she has learned from this past election. And I think she's right about this. So take it away.
This has literally been going on since Fred Hampton, but I mean, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Dr. King, right? Heck, Bernie Sanders talked about organizing across class as well.
He did. And that is something that Simone Sanders is now giving Senator Bernie Sanders a lot of credit for, even though she previously spoke against it. But it's okay. Once you come to the right conclusion, you deserve credit. Now, she made that passionate point and defended Bernie Sanders over.
These people, they're not coming to the right conclusion. The only person who I will give credit for, and maybe it's unfair, the only person I would give credit to is Ana Kasparian for actually coming to the right conclusion. And the only reason why I say that is because she did it. She made the turn in the height of Democrat power. There was no reason for her to do it. It was like a year and a half into the Joe Biden administration and when Ana Kasparian turned against the left wing. Whereas all these other leftists who are changing their opinion magically, like Cenk Uygur is like literally crying real tears on Patrick Bet-David's live stream when Joe Biden or when Kamala Harris lost and Donald Trump won in 24. The day after, he's like, oh, I'm feeling more optimistic than ever, guys. This is great. Now he's turning over to the right wing. It's like, that doesn't seem genuine to me. The only reason why I think Ana Kasparian is genuine is because she turned in the height of Democrat power. And all these other people who are just having 180s randomly, these woke TV hosts, like, I think they need to be called out for their BS, because they're just seeing where the money's going. They're just seeing where the tide is going, and they're just going in that direction. They have no morals. They have no principles. I'll say it over and over again.
For the weekend, focusing on how, look, there needs to be more organizing and more messaging on class-based politics as opposed to identity-based politics. And so Simone Sanders used to work for Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign in 2016. And we are glad to see her fighting for him now because, again, a few years back, she was actually taking shots at him for sharing that same message. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, Cenk, initial thoughts.
Yeah, look, I feel bad sometimes criticizing folks. I know how that feels. But there's a lot of Johnny-come-latelys with epiphanies without apologies, right? So a lot of identity politics was played in the Democratic Party. We'll come back and talk more about that after Ana gives you the rest of the story.
So the clip we just showed you is just a small piece of what Simone Sanders had to say about class. So for context, she was actually responding to the ongoing fight within MAGA over H-1B immigration visas.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
And so with that in mind, here's more context of what she was saying.
The reality is when you align just along, if we're going to just specifically talk about white people for a second, okay? If we just talk about aligning just across race, we are seeing the divisions happening right now. The white billionaires, Elon Musk is not saying, yes, I'm fighting for the little guy. Yes, I'm out here, looking out for the forgotten white man. He is saying these folks are mediocre and let me get somebody else to do it, which is why folks, white, black, Latino, Native American, Asian American, and Pacific Islander and otherwise, we have to look at organizing across class, okay? Because the reality is what they said, as Michael said, what they said about black people all those years ago, and they still trying to say it about us, to be very clear. Now they're saying it out loud about people who are not black, about you.
I mean, this is the reason why politicians advocating for universal economic policies tend to perform better in political polling. They tend to get reelected. It's messaging that appeals to a broader group of voters.
Wait, are you trying to say that people who hate every race except for their own, they don't appeal to a wide group of voters? That's wild. I never would have thought that'd be the case. Also, like, how do these people end up in these positions? Like, how the hell did do Joy Reid and like, do you just have to be like, do you automatically get a bid at MSNBC if you're just a bald black lady? Is that just how it works? Like, I honestly, does anyone turn on MSNBC and like actually listen to this and they're like, wow, this is very insightful? Like, what is she even saying? I don't know. I don't want to go too hard on her, but like, these people never say anything insightful ever. Like, who the hell watches it? That's what I don't understand. I'm convinced that the only time MSNBC and these places get watched is when the Young Turks covers it, complaining about them, or when other YouTubers cover them. Like, who actually sits down and watches that stuff? It actually blows my mind.
That the elites had was, if we just put a couple of black and Latino people at the very top, that'll help them. Our idea was, why don't we actually give them higher wages and healthcare? That'll help them a lot more. And then, no, you're hurting vulnerable communities. No, we're not. You're hurting them. But that's just a line that people use to privilege their own perspective and their own position within the Democratic Party and the left wing. So none of this help. It's elementary politics that you serve all voters, not just some voters, if you'd like to get more of them. Elementary.
Yeah, I mean, look, diversity of thought is not something that seems to be celebrated by the Democratic Party. And so I think that's an issue. And look, just to give you a perfect example, I mean, think about what happened with the California Senate seat after Senator Dianne Feinstein passed away during her final term. I mean, at that point, California Governor Gavin Newsom was able to appoint someone to that vacant seat until the election was held. And Barbara Lee, a black Democrat who was planning on running for that seat, wanted to be a contender, wanted to be chosen. And she was known for her progressive politics. And guess what? Her representation was not something that was favored by Gavin Newsom and the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. So there you have it. But I do want to talk a little bit about where Symone Sanders was on this issue back in 2019. Because as I mentioned, she did work for Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign in 2016. But by 2019, she became a senior advisor for the Biden campaign. And so apparently she took issue with something that Bernie Sanders had said during an interview with GQ. So let me first start with what Senator Sanders said, and then I'll get to her response. Again, this was in 2019. So Senator Sanders said, there are people who are very big into diversity, but whose views end up being not particularly sympathetic to working people, whether they're white or black or Latino. My main belief is that we need to bring together a coalition of people, of black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American, around a progressive agenda, which is prepared to take on an extraordinarily powerful ruling class in this country. That's my view. Many of my opponents do not hold that view, and they think that all that we need is people who are candidates who are black or white, who are black or Latino or women or gay, regardless of what they stand for, that the end result is diversity. And then Bernie hastened to add that diversity is enormously important, but there was a bigger goal to change society and create an economy and a government that work for all people. Symone Sanders took issue with that statement. Even though she seems to agree with it today. Back then, in February of 2019, she responded by saying, has he learned lessons since 2016? Yes. He has been actively working since 2016 to reach out to various communities, to be on the ground and listen to folks. He has been to South Carolina a few times, which is really important. But some of the language is going to be problematic. Nobody is saying that. And in a race where there are Latinos and women and black women, people will use it against him. I don't care how many times you go to South Carolina. You say things like you said to GQ because you think it's appealing. It's alienating to some folks. As a young black millennial, I don't like hearing it because it speaks to a fundamental misunderstanding about race and gender and what people are looking for. So what are people looking for, Simone Sanders? I mean, like, I wish that.
Yeah, it's never ever made sense to me. Like, the only place that I try to give people the benefit of the doubt where possible, but like right here, it's just not possible. Whenever someone is presenting that we should maybe, instead of targeting race when trying to fix issues when it comes to financials or class issues, and they're like, oh no, we shouldn't target class. We should target race instead. And someone like Bernie Sanders is like, wait, that's kind of stupid. If we want to solve the issue of socioeconomic status, we should probably target who we help based on socioeconomic status, right? And they're like, no, that's racist. We have to target based on race. At that point, you don't get the benefit of the doubt anymore because you're just blatantly racist. And that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how can you not be racist at that point? Please let me know in the comments if I'm going crazy, but I just think that that's blatantly racist. Like, that's like, no, we don't want to help anyone who is not this certain skin color, even though we're saying that we want to help a socioeconomic class. We're not going to base that on socioeconomic status. We're going to base it on skin color only. That is racism. Like, that's blatant racism. That's crazy to me that they think that's going to be popular and that they're criticizing Bernie Sanders for going against that. Bernie Sanders just has a common sense take, and this person's, criticizing him. But you already know what this is, man. You already know how these people are. That's how they are. They get to be blatantly racist with no repercussions. Like, that is what that is. Anyway, let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong. And also let me know in the comments you guys think about Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, honestly, going after this Trump deranged idiot on MSNBC for going after Bernie Sanders for a completely common sense take.